Hi viewers, welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Barista Andrea. So basically in today's video, I am going to talk about calibration. What is calibration? When do we calibrate? Where do we calibrate? And why do we calibrate? Basically this is not going to be only in theory, but also practical. So without wasting any minute, let's get started. So basically this term calibration might be used in different sectors or different fields, but for today's sake, I am going to use it in the barista world or the coffee world. So as we start today's video, first, allow me apologize for what happened last week, whereby I wanted to host a live video, but due to the network problems, I couldn't host the live video. I wanted us to talk about coffees, different types of coffees. What challenges do you find in coffees as a barista, as a person who consumes the coffee or customer? But with that, I am really sorry. So basically, we as baristas are known to be the last producers of coffee. It passes through a chain, which we normally call the coffee value chain. From the farmer, through the roaster, through the QA, that is the quality controller, the quality grader, all those people, to the barista, which barista serves it on to the last consumer. And we as baristas, their techniques or their methods that we follow to serve the best coffee to our consumer or our customer. And today I am going to share with you the simple ways or the simple techniques or the methods or steps through which you can easily make a perfect cup of coffee, so as you don't break the coffee value chain, because it might pass through the roaster, the farmer, and everything is okay, but you as the barista, as the last producer of this coffee, you are going to totally mess up with the beans, hence giving the consumer poor product, which is going to lead to abusing the coffee, when the problem is with the barista or the coffee maker. So, and we saw that calibration basically means the comparison between the measurement derived by a machine at that time with the actual measurement. What do we try to mean by the measurement derived by the machine at that moment and the actual measurement? So we as baristas, there are those standard measurements that we follow while making our coffees throughout the day. It doesn't matter, sometimes it might easily change. Let me say that I'm supposed to serve 18 grams of coffee, and due to the weather changes or any default within the machine, I have to twist on to 19 or 17 or 16, depending on how your day is. So basically, after knowing what calibration means, when do we calibrate? Me as a barista, through my experience, I would severally recommend you to calibrate when you arrive at the shift, either in the morning, afternoon, or evening, when the weather has changed, either from hot to cold, or from rainy to hot, or from hot to rainy, or at a very busy shift. Remember, using this grinder or this machine, basically the grinder, it tends to heat up, and when it heats up, the grinding chambers get to expand. So that means it's going to give you relatively coarse grains out of the grinder. And when you try to extract a shot of espresso, it's going to just run through speed, and you're going to find yourself that if you've been extracting your shot of espresso at 20 seconds, you're going to find it at 18, 15 or 16 seconds, one of the two. So basically that is when you are supposed to calibrate. But sometimes even if you're not busy and let me say your machine is dormant, immediately you get a customer, fast test or fast calibrate your machine to make sure that the standard measurements are correct. So why do we have to calibrate, we as baristas? First is to reduce on the wastage of the coffee while at the shift. So the second point is to ensure quality accuracy of the espresso. Sometimes, remember, when I come to my shift and I tend to calibrate, I am looking for a perfect espresso, the espresso which my customer tends to take every day and they get to like. That is the reason as to why they tend to come back every day. So the third point is to reduce defects or to know your coffee. Sometimes these coffee beans, like you see, this coffee bean might have, or you might have 6 packets in your store, and you have 1 packet that has a defect. How are you going to know that your coffee is defected? When you have not tested it or when you have not calibrated it. Remember, while you calibrate, you get to test to know your coffee that you're going to serve in the day. The fourth point is determine accuracy of your day serving. With the accuracy, remember that, like I told you in the first, we baristas have different measurements, standard measurements. Even if you go to Italy, even if you go to Uganda, even if you go to Saudi Arabia or Sudan, you are going to find every barista telling you that this measurement, if it's 15 for the craft brew, it's 15. Through the accuracy, I have to always test, measure. That's why I have this weighing scale here. But for those who don't have weighing scales, you have to measure with your eyes. You have to train your eyes and to know that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to serve, this is the accuracy. And how are you going to help your eyes is by through testing. Every time you get to dose the coffee, tamp it, test it after extracting it. That's when you're going to know that if it's sour, I have to adjust. If it's bitter, I have to adjust. If it's watery, I have to adjust. Then the sixth point, it helps you improve the customer confidence. There is that tendency whereby customers build confidence in that one barista. They know that Andrew makes me this perfect coffee, Ariel makes me this perfect coffee, Abdul makes me this perfect coffee. That's why you're going to find them telling the cashier, please tell Abdul to make my coffee, please tell Ariel to make my coffee, Hussein make my coffee, like that. So they gain that confidence that you're going to serve them that perfect beverage they expect out of you. Remember, you are the presentation, or you are the face of the coffee shop when it comes to the coffees. The other point is correct drifts in weather changes. Every time the weather gets to change, you have to calibrate as a barista. That is a must, because when it's cold, you are going to find that the dosing chambers have contracted and your coffee beans have also contracted, whereby they are becoming more thin. You can't easily see it with your eyes, but the machine can tell. When it's cold, you are going to grind your coffee, whereby you will see that there is a change. The coffee is very, very fine due to the weather change of the cold. And when it's hot, you are going to find that the grinding chambers have expanded, the coffee has expanded, and when you get to grind that same coffee that you've been serving for the day, it's kind of salty cautious. It has that salty cautiousness into it. That's why you have to be cautious when the weather changes. Have update on the machine maintenance, whereby if I come on the shift immediately and I tend to calibrate my machines, I'll know that this machine, I think it has a problem, it needs maintenance, or this machine, or this machine, or this machine. I'll just get to know through what I've seen and through what I see every day. I am going to get to realize that there is a change in this machine and it needs to be worked upon immediately. So with all that, not forgetting one point, is it's going to help you not to delay your customers' orders. If you calibrate in time, they get to open the doors in time, the customers come, you are also confident that I am going to give a customer without delaying. Still, as I'm talking about the theoretical part of it, there are things we have to consider while calibrating our machines. Most of people think that we are calibrating only the coffee, but no, we are trying to calibrate all the machines to keep the persistency. You're going to find yourself that we have this, we have this, we have this, and we have this. This might perform the same function, but they are totally different in the outcome while grinding your coffee. So the first thing we have to consider is the type of the machine you're using. You have to understand the machine you're using. If I am using this Lamazoko, what are the functions of this Lamazoko? Make research about it. Know what kind of the machine you're using. When it gets a problem, where do I start from? Because technically you have to know the basics of the machine, how you can easily operate it just in case something wrong has happened. But if it's too much into technical, that's when you get to call your technician to come and help you out. And the other thing you have to know is the right time for calibration. When do you have to calibrate? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Is it when the weather's changed? Is it when the customers complain that, please, your coffee has tasted bad today? Then the other thing, what kinds of beverages are you serving? You get it? When it's espresso based or the espresso beverages. Okay. You have to know the kinds of beverages. Does the milk I'm using easily blend with my coffee? Is the syrup I'm trying to use easily blend with my coffee and milk? You have to easily put that in mind, and through that you also have to be creative. As a person, naturally we are all creative, but when you become a barista, you become more and more, much more creative. So the other point, know your temperature levels and the environment. The temperature levels, this machine functions through different temperature levels. You might find that I have a button here whereby I easily roll it to the right, it reduces the temperature of the water, or to the left, it raises the temperature of the water. The steam, is the temperature okay? Can it steam my milk to 90 to 80 to 60 degrees Celsius? What of the water that we use to extract our espresso? Is the espresso cold? Is the espresso hot, which is coming out of the machine? With all that, you have to know how to use this machine. Then we have to know the amount of pressure while tamping. Talking about amount of pressure, this is an automatic tamper. You can easily increase the pounds or decrease, increase or decrease. So it depends on the amount of coffee that you're trying to tamp. Still, the amount of pressure while using this tamper, it is really different than that. Remember, here we use our arm. Like I told you, while tamping, make sure you create a 90 degrees between your arm. Like you see, this is how I tamp. Okay, let me get this. This is how I tamp. I'll get my portafilter here, tamp. When I get to exert much pounds or much pressure onto this espresso, onto the grounds, trust me, my result or my outcome of the espresso, it is going to taste differently. The flow of the espresso totally is going to be different. So we have to mind about all those things while tamping. Know your coffee. Let me say, know your coffee. When it comes to the density, you find that this coffee is different from this. When I'm calibrating, immediately I reach my station, I make sure that my coffee hooper attains 1 kilo of coffee beans. So through the process of my shift, if my coffee reaches quarter way, I have to add another coffee so that it helps me pound the exact pressure through the grinding chambers. Because remember, every time I get to grind, the lesser the coffee beans, the change of the grains that come out, or the size of the coffee beans that come out. That's why relatively I really mind about the coffee beans. Once it reaches 3/4, I make sure that I raise it up to 1 kilo so that I have that persistence while grinding my coffee or dosing off my coffee, which I'm going to use. Because you are going to see that if your coffee relatively uses from 1 kilo up to this limit, or you are going to see a change in your espresso extraction. And once you get to test it, trust me, it is really going to be bad. And if you give it to your customer, trust me, they're going to complain. So immediately it reaches quarter way, make sure you fill it up to the 1 kg. Then talking about the size or the density still, we are going to see that these coffee beans and these coffee beans are totally different. Whereby this coffee bean is large in size and this is thick in size. But what is surprising most, like you see this coffee bean, it has a high density. Due to it being small in size, every time you get to grind it, it's going to be very refined due to its density. That with a small bean, you are going to find it with 5 grams, and with a big bean, you are going to find it with 3 grams. You see that variety or the difference between the beans? That means this bean, however much small it is, it has a high density. It weighs heavier than the large beans, and they totally taste different. The other factor that we're supposed to consider, testing while calibrating. Always test before you serve to the customer. You might not test the first espresso, but make it a point to test whereby you get the accurate espresso that you are supposed to serve to your client. Then the other point, I would really advise any barista out there to eat before calibrating. If you don't eat before calibrating, this espresso is really citric in the body. It has different factors or different effects that is going to cause due to the empty stomach that you are carrying. So I would recommend one to first eat food before you do what? Before you get to test this coffee. Remember, while testing coffee, it helps you in the digestion system. So if you drink this espresso before you eat, it is going to digest an empty intestine, hence causing different problems, where you are going to be rushed to the hospital if you have very weak intestines. So when you know that you're going to the shift, I would recommend you to eat 2 hours or 1 hour before you reach the station. Then the first thing, immediately you arrive at the station, make sure you leave the stress out of your bar. What do I try to mean? Every time that a barista is stressed, a barista is confused, trust me, he won't give you the best result out of the coffee that you want. It might be my workplace, it might be my friends, my family, and I'm overthinking about those things. I am going to really do mess. That's why sometimes when I say that I am not perfect for calibration, I am going to call the second barista to calibrate. Then the other thing, the odor. Once you come to the shift, make sure that your odor is perfect. What do I mean by odor? The smell that comes out of you, the perfumes that come out of other people. Don't use perfumes. I would recommend one to use a sticker. Basically, make sure you shower, you brush your teeth, because all this affects the taste of the coffee, the aroma of the coffee, the fragrance of the coffee. So make sure the odor is perfect perfumes, please avoid, because remember, this coffee is very sensitive. Once you reach your station and you have a fume, these coffee beans are easily going to get attracted to the perfume, and once you get to inhale the aroma, it is going to really smell that perfume. And always have a glass of water by your side, a glass of water, because every time you try to take coffee, an espresso is really something strong into the stomach. That's why when we are serving it, we recommend one to have a glass of water to dilute it in the stomach. That doesn't stop me from taking a glass of water. And the other thing, mind the flow of your espresso. Every time you get to calibrate, or every time you try to calibrate or serve an espresso, mind the flow of your espresso. Remember, an espresso is estimated to run through 15 to 30 seconds. Why do I say 15? Sometimes it depends on what you're going to extract. It might be a ristretto, it might be an espresso, it might be a longo. All these have different timings through which we get to extract them. You'll find that a ristretto is going to run for 15 to 18 or 20 seconds, an espresso 20 to 30, then a longo, it might easily take you to 45 seconds. So it depends what you are extracting or calibrating. So basically, this has been the theoretical part of it, and we are going to head in for the practical bit of the calibration. But what I don't want you to forget, I am going to break down the calibration practical part into two. With the first way, I am going to use this grinder with a weighing scale with an automatic tamper and the timing of the espresso. And with the second grinder, I am not going to use the weighing scale, but I'm going to use this grinder. I am going to use this tamper. I am going to use this distributor, and I am going to use a blindfolded machine, whereby we are going to only use the barista button on the seconds of this the espresso flow, and to have accuracy to know how to test the perfect espresso. So with all that I've said in today's video, so in the next video we are going to start with the practical part of the calibration. So just in case you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share it to fellow baristas, customers, consumers, or those people who to join the baristahood, hotel industry, or those who are wanting to start coffee. You have to know what you want to take before you take it. And just in case you're new to this channel, in order not for you to miss out any other interesting video like this one, interesting and educative, please subscribe on the notification bell to get notified immediately I get to post a video.